CEO seldom knows everything that's going on in their organization. And when it comes to having an employee like Chris Noble, that happens almost every day. So recently, this woman decided she was going to create a rap song to talk about resilience. Now, how in the world those two go together and how they have anything to do with breast cancer, I will never know. But as I listen to Chris, I've learned that there are different ways to talk about your breast, and many of them make a whole lot of sense. When you subscribe to our show, you help us grow. Someone you know may need to hear this story, so please share with your family and friends and consider supporting our mission at therose.org. Let's talk about your breast. A different kind of podcast presented to you by The Rose, a breast center of excellence and a Texas treasure. You're going to hear frank discussions about tough topics, and you're going to learn why knowing about your breast could save your life. Chris, thank you so much for coming back and being with us on Let's Talk About Your Breast. You know, you are a fan favorite, and we love it. We love it when we can have repeats. So just for those who may not have heard your story, tell us a little bit about what it is you do at The Rose.
What it is I do at The Rose. I talk about breasts a lot, a lot. I'm in different communities, at churches, book clubs, anywhere where people or women gather, and I talk about The Rose and about breast cancer, and early detection is my big thing, and trying to get these girls in to get their mammograms. But I've been doing that. This is the beginning of the 13th year, which is very hard for me to believe it's been that long that I've been doing this.
But I thought you were going to retire.
I did, Dorothy. 6 weeks was enough for me. It was enough for me. Yeah.
You're just not ready yet.
No, I don't know. People always ask me, are you going to retire from The Rose? I said, I don't think so. They're going to probably have to carry me out in my cold body, you know. But wait a minute, I got one more thing to say.
Well, we are so delighted that you are our voice inside the loop primarily.
Yep.
And you do a lot of presentations, and you are the person we go to first when we have requests for speakers.
Yeah.
So you have something new going on now.
I do. I have a hard time continuing to do the same thing over and over again. I think it kind of stems from back when I taught school. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I would present a lesson and I'd see 20 faces that had no idea what I was talking about. So I had to move to Plan B and explain it a little differently, or maybe Plan C. I had to be flexible. So it kind of went back to that, and so I'm always kind of trying to change things up, trying to be somebody different, trying to attract people to me.
Is that why you had what was it, the tambourine?
My granddaughter gave me the tambourine. And I thought,
and you started presentations.
I started presentations with. I would come in with this playing the tambourine, or when they introduced me, I'd stand up and play the tambourine and tell them the story of my granddaughter and that she had given it to me, and that her granddaughter or her grandmother who passed away from breast cancer, her name was Loretta, and she knew about breast cancer, so she wanted me to use this tambourine to talk about breast cancer. Not sure exactly what that had to do with breast cancer, but it got people excited. And then after I said that story, I would give the tambourine to someone in the audience. And I said, if I say something you like, play the tambourine. If you just feel like playing the tambourine, play the tambourine. Then you got to pass it on. So I had been in some situations where it was a big crowd, and I could see that tambourine being passed around. It was just one of those things that makes you memorable. Let's have Chris come back out and bring her tambourine.
Right.
It was when I dyed my hair pink. When I put they always, if I show up without pink hair, where's your pink hair? It's not October, you know. Where's your pink hair? And so it's just a sales gimmick, if you want it. You know, it's just something that set me apart from other people that they're speaking, and maybe relaxed them a little bit, and maybe made the subject of breast cancer a little less scary, because I wasn't just stating all the minute little statistics and trying to relax. So I started out doing my hair pink, and then I did the tambourine. And the last 5 years, I have wanted to write a rap. A rap. I could see myself going to these mega churches doing a rap.
Oh, no.
I know. And I would be at an event, and there'd be somebody was entertaining, and he was a rapper. And I would give him my card and say, would you please call me? I want to write a rap. I'm going to do a rap in October. And, of course, they looked at me and said, sure you are, to themselves, and never called me. So last...
I wonder why. Chris, look at you.
I understand. But, I was very serious.
Okay.
I was very serious about this. And so in September, when I was gathering my thoughts for what I'm going to do in October, I said, I'm writing this rap. So I wrote the rap.
Wait, you have a rap?
I have a rap. Everybody knows I'm Chris from the Rose, from the top of my head to the tips of my toes. Everybody knows I'm Chris from the Rose. For 38 years and a million folks, mammograms save lives, it ain't no joke. The next verse my boyfriend helped me write.
Okay.
From county to county and steeple to steeple, I spread the news to all of my people. Everybody knows I'm Chris from the Rose, and there's a whole lot more of them. Some say it hurts. Well, maybe a bit, but it'll be over, lickety-split. Everybody knows I'm Chris from the Rose.
Go on.
Whether insured or not, we're at your service, and I'll be there if you're a little nervous. Everybody knows I'm Chris from the Rose. Ultrasounds and biopsies, we do those too. The Rose has your back. We really do. Everybody knows I'm Chris from the Rose. There's a couple more. Thank you for listening to my little ditty. Remember, the Rose is the best in the
city.
And every time I was going to do my rap, before I did it, I would tell them, listen, I wrote this rap, and every time I do it, I get a standing ovation. So every time I do it, I get a standing ovation. I don't mean to put any pressure on you, but it's just a way to to open it up, to relax. I mean, I've done it to a lot big churches where there were hundreds of people in the pews, thinking to myself, I'm not going to embarrass you, Dorothy. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. I'm not going to embarrass you. But I learned, I learned a long, long, long time ago that you have to kind of, you need to be the most positive person in the room if you want to attract business, because I was in the business world. And you had to participate in life. I didn't just wake up one day and say, I think I'll be the most outgoing or person I know. But my partner and husband taught me a lot of those things. And one of the things, the number one thing he taught me that has, to this even today, is to do what you fear most. Do what you fear most. And I'm sure you don't believe this, but I was petrified to speak in public.
Really?
Petrified. Now, I could speak in front of 48 second graders, but in public. And so I lived in the city of Bel Air, and some of the movers and shakers in Bel Air came to me and asked me if I would run for city council. And I'm thinking, what? So I went home and I told Mike, and he said, well, what did you say? And I said, well, I can't run for, I can't be on city council. You have to talk in front of people. And he said, well, you can do that. Sometimes you just got to do what you fear most. So I ran for city council. I served on the city council. First 2 years on my city council journey, all I said was so moved. Because I was petrified to talk. The last 2 years, they could not shut me up. And since then, they could not shut me up. And so I developed that attitude about do what you fear most. So every time I would come up against something I feared, I would do it. And what I found out was as you continue to do what you fear most, you become fearless. And I'm pretty much fearless, Dorothy.
Yes.
I am.
That you are.
I'm pretty, and it's because of those words he said to me.
Interesting.
It is, isn't it? And so our story. So
A story about you and me. Okay.
about 1990, I joined my first women's group. And I was in the group about a year, and the incoming president called me and said, listen, would you serve on my board and be my newsletter editor? And I said, no, I really don't want to do that. So that night in the hot tub, I told Mike about the call I'd gotten from Merlene. And he said, well, what did you tell her? I said, I told her I didn't want to do that. So he says to me, and this is a long time ago, what'd you join the group for if you weren't going to participate? So I called her back the next day, and I said, you didn't fill that position, did you? Oh, no. I said, I'll be your newsletter editor. So for the next 22 years, I served on a board with her. She served on mine. We traveled together. We were great friends. And you gave me this job at the Rose. And about a month into this job, I was here. And you said something like, I knew I wanted to hire you, Chris, but I needed to ask our board president. And I said to you, well, who's your board president? Merlene Knott. That's our story. I mean, that's do what you fear most. What'd you join the group for? And so there are a lot of things I learned doing those things. Right. And so as I was developing my new thing, because I've rapped, how to follow rapping. I may not give up the rap because it was pretty good. I started thinking about resilience and how did I get to be this? How was I fearless? How did I do this? And it was that resilience piece to me.
Resilience.
And it's, as I was teaching those kids and they didn't understand what I'm saying, I met with some adversity, so I had to figure out, what am I going to do next? So I automatically switched into that back when I was a teacher. And then as a business owner, if you're not making money, you got to figure out either you're closing the business or you're going to figure out how to make money. So there was just times I just kept dipping in, and these were these things that came about because I was resilient. But then I got to thinking, I didn't do this on my own. I wasn't born resilient. I mean, I was born an extrovert, but I wasn't born resilient. People in my circle helped me become resilient. And when I needed help with something, people helped me. Like our friends at the Angel Surviving Cancer. They helped us because they knew me. Right. And I knew them because I was resilient, trying to get people to help girls with breast cancer. So it all kind of connected. And along my 30, 40 plus years of business and teaching and all of that, I just learned how to help other people and ask for help from me and not let that adversity, because adversity is always going to come. I mean, it came to me a couple of times driving here today. Adversity is always going to come, but how you handle it. What is it? The saying? It's 10% of what happens to you, and 90% how you handle it.
Right, how you respond.
How you respond to it, and that is very, very true.
Of course, that same saying goes with all the things we worry about.
Yes.
90% of them never happen.
They never happen.
We waste time worrying about it.
Yes. And so I started adding resilience, and instead of saying, Chris wants to come and talk about the Rose and breast cancer. And they're going, oh, no. We need something more upbeat because they don't know that I had a rap. But Chris is going to come talk about resilience. And so I talk a little bit about my story. And then I ask the audience to give me some of their stories. And just throughout the talk, I try to get them to understand that they're resilient. Even if it was just a minor little thing today, they're resilient. Or think about something you did and was bigger than that. And then after I got everybody who's resilient, stand up, raise your hand, something. Then I said, okay, why are you afraid to get the mammogram? Everybody in this room just admitted you're resilient. We need to get this mammogram so we can be resilient and we get past it. Because, and the whole spiel about it. I mean, you're not giving yourself you're not, if you're not getting that mammogram, you're not giving yourself a chance for the new technology to work in your benefit. I mean, there's so many cancers we can discover now at stage 0. What the hell is stage zero? What the heck is stage 0, But you're not giving you, and so stop worrying about that. You're resilient. And so that's kind of how I'm piecing that into our business, is that we're resilient.
And what happens after you do that talk? Do they come up to you?
Oh, yeah.
What are some of the things they ask?
I mean, I can't believe, thank you so much. I mean, I feel much better. I would really like to get a mammogram, but I'm afraid. I'm still afraid. I said, how about if I meet you there? I've met at least a half a dozen women when they had their first mammogram. Mm-hmm. I've met a couple of them that had to go back for diagnostic and ultrasounds to be there with those women. And some of them will ask me that. And they always want my card. And I always ask, and I'm asking in this podcast, invite me to speak. Chris will come speak about resilience.
And do your rap.
And do my rap. Well, I wouldn't want anybody to miss that. And James knows it by heart because I've done it, that my boyfriend, I've done it for 3 million times. But he did write that verse because he's the one that travels with me sometimes from steeple to steeple and county to county.
Right.
And I wake up many days now and think, how did I get this life after the worst day of my life happened? And that would be the day Mike died. But how did I get this life? I mean, you gave me an opportunity, but yes, I seized that opportunity.
Absolutely.
But how did I get there? And so I tell a little bit of that story sometimes about that. Because, I mean, that's the worst day of your life. You know your mom and dad are probably going to die before you. Mm-hmm. But it's not your spouse or your sister, somebody like that. How do you move past that? And a lot of it is he's still there looking at my awards.
All right, what's that about? Tell us that.
I don't know. When I had my business, I would get a big head every now and then. I know you can't believe that, but and he would say, "Yeah, we know you're wonderful, but what have you done lately?" So now, if I get an award, my sweet boyfriend pulls out Mike's picture, puts the award by my picture, and I don't even know it anymore. I mean, I don't know he's done it. I said, "Where's my award?" He said, "Mike's looking at it. Mike's checking it out." And I have received a lot of awards, way too many awards. I keep telling them, give them to the But the community that I'm in, the African American community that I primarily work in, they honor their people. They honor and award and uplift the people in their communities that are doing great things. And so I'm blessed to get that award from that community. But they do a lot of that, and I think that's amazing that they and that's part of being resilient. They're helping that person who just got this award for being whatever. Mm-hmm. That helps that person.
It does.
It helps that person immensely, and that's some of the things that helped me. And it doesn't matter whether you're an extrovert or an introvert. Nobody's born resilient. It's something you learn to do and you cultivate. And I mean, in a way, I cultivated our friendship over those years. Mm-hmm. I mean, we would see each other at events and we'd talk. And if I'd have just never talked to you, because there were 300 or 400 people in the room, I might not have even seen you. Right. But we cultivated that friendship, that knowing each other, and that ended up here in this chair. Right. Who knew? And so I talk about those kinds of things in my talk, and I try to get others to talk about theirs because that happens all the time. And many of the things that I learned to do, and many of the skills I have, I learned by volunteering to do that job. I learned how to use Excel because I kept track of reservations.
Oh.
I mean, because a lot of times when you're learning something new, you've got to have a reason to do it. Mm-hmm. You can't learn it until you got to do it.
Right.
And so, I mean, I learned a lot of that stuff. And so I think resilience is something everybody can benefit from. And
everybody has it, whether they know it or not.
Whether they know it or not. And I do have something new for 2025 that you don't even know about.
Dare I ask? No,
So-
you do have to let me know these things sometimes.
I'm letting you know right now.
Okay. Tell me.
Well, one of the biggest topics in the country, the world right now, is mental health. There's a big push for mental health and that sort of stuff. And in October, I was at a luncheon, and I met a woman sitting at my table. I have a tendency to talk to people. And she's a mental health nurse. And I'm going to tag team on her events where she speaks, and I'm going to speak about breast cancer. And she's going to develop a part of her speaking around not being afraid and the mental health around being afraid. So we can tag team together to her events, and she's going to go to mine. So not only can I say Chris is going to come and talk about breast cancer and resilience, I'm bringing Tiffany, who is a mental health nurse, and she's going to talk about this. So it's something new.
You remind me of a carnival or a traveling show of some kind. I mean, Chris, I don't even remember the old days. But you always have a way of bringing something different into the world, and I think that's your gift.
It probably is.
I don't know that everybody has that gift.
Yeah, and I because I talk to people.
You like people.
I like people, but it doesn't. You don't have to do it my way. You just have to figure out how you can be resilient, because you can, and you have it, and you have people around you that will help you. Now you got to be willing to help them too. You got to be on the other side and be able to be their person they go to and the person that they call when they need help with this or that. Not with necessarily their health, but just whatever they need. And you have to be that for other people, because that's hard
for some people.
It
to
is
ask
very
for help.
difficult.
It
is.
Really
It's hard for but it's because they don't have those relationships. They haven't built those relationships yet, and they don't even know how to. Sometimes they may need to get help to learn how to do that. But even introverted people have friends. May not be as many as Chris Noble, but they have friends, and they too can be resilient. And I kept seeing that word resilient and zeroing in on it, and so I bought a painting. I really only bought this painting because I wanted to make a donation to this group. But I liked the painting, so I figured if I'm going to give $100, I'm going to get something back. So I got this painting. But I looked at it, and when it's done, I'll let you know. It was someone else's painting. But I'm going to enhance it.
Oh. Okay.
And right now, it's halfway enhanced. And it just reminded me of the word resilience. So in my studio, a.k.a. my garage, is this 42 by 42 canvas with paint on it, and I have written the word resilience on the canvas, but it's just in chalk. And I'm still finishing the rest of the things I want to put on it. And I already have someone to purchase it. But the reason I tell you that story is because I see it when I pull in my garage. There's that painting that says resilience. And it was actually before I started working on this painting, before I started talking about resilience. I mean, I don't know how it all worked out.
Oh, I know. These are
weird
those
stuff.
Yes, God things.
The God things
that drive us and move us and help us to believe something that is beyond us.
Yeah, because it's still there now because I'm still working on it. And I have the painting sold, and that'll be another donation to the Rose for $250. Wow. So it's already sold.
That is great.
So
great.
I don't know. But it's because of the people that were around me, my parents, those people, the people that were around me. I didn't grow up with lots of girlfriends and lots of friends. I always had a little weight issue, and I didn't date until I was like in college. And I mean, I didn't make real good grades. When I found out a C was passing, that's all I need to worry about. Not until I got a graduate degree did I worry about a grade. Yeah. If I could make a C, I'm happy. I mean, I didn't do any of that stuff. So this is all something I've learned beginning probably with Mike. And because I owned the company, he didn't have any part of it because it's a community property state. So and that way we could get business because we were a women-owned business, and there was no question that there were a women-owned business because it wasn't 51, 49. Right. It was 100%. And we did get – so I learned a lot of stuff from someone because I wasn't in the business world. I taught school.
Mm-hmm. All right. So you are Chris from the Rose. Let's close this up with –
Everybody knows I'm Chris from the Rose. Let me think about what verse I've missed. I haven't really missed a good verse. I don't know, but you know.
All right.
Everybody knows I'm Chris from the Rose, from the top of my head to the tips of my toes. Everybody knows I'm Chris from the Rose.
Chris, that is so good. In one way, I'm sure there are some critics that would say that's
silly.
Could use some more.
Yeah. Sure.
Work.
Well, if those guys that I gave my card to would have helped me, I do need a beat. I don't have the right beat, but I'm doing this on my own, guys. If you don't like it, help me with the beat.
That's our request. Someone
help with the beat.
Help Chris with her rap
with my
music.
rap, because I've been rapping for the Rose. That's what I call it, rapping for the Rose.
We need your help. Please subscribe if nothing else. But
help Chris
let us
with
know.
the rap. Yeah.
Let us know if you want to help Chris with.
Yeah, I need the beat, and a couple of places that I did it, they gave me the beat.
Oh.
Yeah, they were helping me with the beat. So
why aren't you using it? You don't
you
remember it?
Yeah, I don't remember it.
Okay.
Yeah, I got to have my, I said to this one kid, I said, you need to travel with me because you got me on this beat. And I was at one event, and there was a rapper there, and his name was Little Troy. And after I did my rap, Little Troy told me he liked my rap.
Oh. Well, I guess you've had the seal of approval.
Little Troy.
Chris, thanks so much for being with us today and for bringing us resiliency and for bringing us rap.
Rapping for the Rose, baby.
And for all the work you do in the community.
It's my privilege, my blessing. It's my life. I have so many things that I have now because I have I got a family, and I got a daughter and a granddaughter and a son-in-law. You can help me get by having me here. I mean, what a life.
You didn't need any.
Well, I don't know about that. Maybe to restrain me.
Yeah, you just needed somebody to open a door.
Yeah.
And that's what life is.
Yes, it is.
Looking for people to open those doors.
That's a great one. I'm going to use that one. Okay. Good job, Dorothy.
Thanks.
Thank you for joining us today on Let's Talk About Your Breasts. This podcast is produced by Speak Podcasting and brought to you by The Rose. Visit therose.org to learn more about our organization. Subscribe to our podcast, share episodes with friends, and join the conversation on social media using hashtag Let's Talk About Your Breasts. We welcome your feedback and suggestions. Consider supporting The Rose. Your gift can make the difference to a person in need. And remember, self-care is not selfish, it's essential.